What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show. We're going to come to the Obama Kabul thing again in a minute because I do have some questions on what the procedures are for something like that in a war zone. But you had said maybe 10 minutes ago you followed Obama basically by accident from Chicago to D.C. And so he gets into office in 08. Are you immediately on the presidential detail?
No, like for like 8 months or so, I was protecting, at that time, we do things a little different. I was protecting, actually, DHS Secretary Chertoff was still...
Michael Chertoff.
Michael Chertoff was still in office for a while before he was replaced by, I think, Napolitano. So for a while, I was protecting him. It's kind of a way of breaking you in. You know, it's a small detail. You know, you come from the field office, you haven't done much shift work with the detail, so it's kind of a way to get you involved in that and understand the operation, because obviously he's going to the White House a lot, or he's going to, at that time, DHS was up on Nebraska Avenue, and you're just learning the procedures and stuff. And then after about 8 months of that, I went to the president's detail, and obviously Obama's in office at that time.
You already knew him because you'd worked with him.
Yeah, and he didn't know me. I was familiar with them, you know, the dynamic of the family. I mean, you were around them quite a bit. I mean, the first time I was on president's detail, I was actually taking Malia to, she was in middle school. I would take her to middle school. We would take her to school every day.
Are you the one like driving her, that kind of thing?
Sometimes, but most of the time I was in the front right seat or behind. But yeah, so we had I would drive sometimes, and we had, I won't say what kind of vehicle, but it's funny because that was the first time I protected a child, you know, somebody who wasn't an adult.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And they're new to this at the time. And so it was very interesting. And they went to Sidwell Friends, like a lot of kids of people who are in those kind of positions. Yep. But they were I mean, the kids they're really good kids, and they were super polite, and, you know, just it's just a good family. But it was interesting as an adult protecting a kid.
Yeah.
In a school. And the school was great. The school was very accommodating to us.
Yeah, they're used to it.
You're trying not to be intrusive, but I also understood that it's got to be strange for these girls to have, you know, some dude, middle-aged, you know, at that time I'm probably in my 30s, and they're like, why is this guy following me around?
Do you keep someone physically in the classroom, or do you stay outside?
I don't want to give the procedures of it, but we're not, I'll put it this way. We're as unintrusive as you can be. Got it. Under the circumstances, because, you know, it was pretty common knowledge, obviously, that they were going to that school. I mean, you can't really hide that. Yeah. But it was just interesting from that standpoint. So you go there, you do that. I did transportation and then shift. And so I was on I was with the Obamas when they were in the White House for about 5 years, a little over 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. So that's got to be, like, they're still kids, right? Yeah. And they're really good kids, but we were all kids at one point. Yeah. We're growing up. There's the ups and downs of growing up. We do stupid shit. We, you know, rebel. We get in trouble, stuff like that with our parents and things. And obviously, like, you're a parent yourself, but isn't it like almost a little odd that you basically get to watch the TV show right there of someone growing up and not be involved in that aspect of it, but like you may sit there and see them do something, you know, have a bad day and do some disrespectful shit or something, and you just stand there and go, all right, eagle moving. Yeah. You know, you're not in it, but you're right there, like, who? Yeah, yeah. And you really don't think about it, honestly. You're so like at the school, you're so concerned with their safety, and you have obviously a whole school full of kids and stuff like that. And the staff was great, but you really don't think about it that way. The only thing that was odd for me is at that point, I'd never protected anybody that wasn't an adult. Right. And so it's a different vibe. Like, you might put on, like on the drive-in, you might put music on, you know, like pop music or something like that. So it's a little, you know, if they wanted a certain radio station. You don't change the station, huh?
No.
It's classic rock today, Malia.
Like, they turn on Toby Keith. It's like Taylor Swift's off.
Pipe down, bitch. I'm in charge.
But so it was just interesting from that standpoint. But they are a great family, and they were good kids. So it was like, yeah, and at the time, you know, my son was really young at the time, but it's like, yeah, you didn't really think about it. But looking back, and like as I got older, I was like, now to your point, I can't imagine having somebody with me all the time. It's a huge adjustment. And I'm sure, you know, I put myself in their shoes. That couldn't have been great. No. And that's where also, but, you know, and then we had, and sometimes, you know, It might be, I'm sure it was easier for them if there was a female agent as opposed to a guy agent, like following them around a little bit. Because it's weird when you have like some guy that looked like he played football. It's like just, and you stand out because you're walking around in the school with, and we're dressed down. We're not dressed like in suits and looking like, like a hitman or some shit, So we're trying to do the best we can, but you can only blend in so much in a middle school. But no, they were great kids and good protectees. And but yeah, I think about that too when you think about children getting into this. It is a different dynamic for sure.
How does it work that you get moved from, say, Malia's protection to like Barack's protection though? Because
it's kind of it kind of progress. So you'll do a set. So eventually you'll do like a first lady's detail. I did transportation. I did operations as well, where you do a lot of logistics. So they kind of progress you along. So you'll do shift before you get to the shift. You'll do like a smaller detail. So in the Trumps, it might be one of the like a daughter Ivanka or one of his sons or something like that. Of course, they're adults, so it's a different dynamic than it is with a kid. But it's just every family, every administration is different. And then then even when you go to the shift though, they're not gonna just throw you to the wolves. They're not gonna go, hey, go do this giant fucking site. No, go do this fucking arena right now for us. Your first site's gonna be something relatively simple. Maybe an airport arrival, maybe a landing zone for the Marine One. It's going to be something that is not going to be overwhelming. And you're going to have supervisors and you're going to have lead agents there who have had more experience to kind of make sure to help you along, to help you, because they're passing along that knowledge like, hey, this is something you need to be concerned about or something like that.
Why is an airport simple?
It's not. And it's kind of, yeah,
I'm thinking about snipers and stuff. It's
I mean, you have, it's funny you brought that up because sometimes in the service we say that. Now it's simpler from the standpoint of the planning. It's more, how do I put it? It's more clear than if you get like an arena or something. They're all different. The airports tend to be, to your point, there's a lot of similarities to how they're set up. There's only so many set up. So obviously you have counter sniper and all those other concerns as far as distance and stuff, but it's just, typically, you're not dealing with crowds nearly as big. Usually, you'll have maybe a pin of greeters that arrive. Like they'll open it up. And it's usually you're not dealing with like a 40,000 people or something like that. So that's where it's quote unquote simpler. Not that any site's really truly simple, because you can make the same case for a landing zone. Because you obviously have to have wide open spaces and that kind of thing. You're going to have high speed avenues of approach and all these other concerns. But an airports are typically already secured, obviously, by the police department, and there's a lot of security measures already in place at an airport, so that helps you. But when we say simple, it's easier than some other ones, but it's not easy like any other site. But that's how they typically will start you out, because in a site at a typical visit, you're going to have the airport, obviously, which is obviously the only site where they go to twice because the arrival and departure. Yep. There's going to be possibly a landing zone if they do a lift, if they're not just motorcading. And then you may have, depending on what's going on, whether one site, a rally site or something, or maybe they're doing a couple of fundraisers at some houses. It just depends on the visit. So the idea is, hey, if we're going to get these guys some experience, get them on those types of things. As opposed, there's usually a lot more moving parts, obviously, at a rally or at a large event, or even at like even at a house, if you're having a fundraising place at some rich guy's place, obviously you're in a neighborhood. There's a lot of complications with that. So you want somebody with more experience. Also, by then, hopefully, supervisors, we see how they interact with people. Because if you're dealing with folks, if you have the wrong personality, you got to be able to work with people. And so it's like, if they're doing like a fundraiser somewhere, and it's, I don't know, say it's a big basketball star or something, in the NBA star. You got to be able to work with these people and stuff, and it's their house, but you have all these other concerns security wise.
My house now, my life.
Yes. So it's like you gotta be very tactful. You gotta be able to work with people. If you have some guy that's a robot who can't work with other people, that's a kind of a problem, because we're very intrusive, And it's not like the TV shows or the movies where we come in, oh, hey, we got this. It's like we're taking this over. This is ours now. That's not how it works.
Imagine walking into like LeBron's house, like, get the fuck out of the way, pal.
Exactly. Or it's like, and you see people. These are very successful people.
Yes.
And I've always found that they're all very pleasant, but at the same time, it is once again up for a week. Yeah. You're in their shit. You're all up in their business, in their house, and everything in a neighborhood. And now all the neighbors know that something's up. And then by then, I'm sure they've told them.
And you have to, like, if they, are a legal gun owner and stuff, you need to know where that stuff is. You may, I don't know what the procedure is. You don't have to say, but maybe you have to remove that stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, you're right. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And like you would think a house wouldn't be that hard, but obviously you're surrounded by other houses and things like that.
I can see that being hard.
And also you're kind of in a corner. It's like your egress routes are limited at that point.
Your what?
Your egress routes. Like the way, if you want to get the fuck out of there in a hurry, you're in, like, let's say you go to a big mansion in Bel Air.
Right,
it's walled in. It's backed in. No one's thinking about how to get out of here because there's usually only one way out.
Get to the chopper.
Exactly. So so it can be, you can go in there and go, shit, we're kind of in a corner here. And so you have to mitigate that. And you have to come up with sometimes creative ways to do that. So, anyway, that's how they progress the agents as they go through their time on the details. And you do see by the time they've done a bunch of sites, they've done whether transportation or the first lady detail, maybe operations. They also have like an access control section for the White House. There's people, so they do all that, and by then you may start doing leads.
Okay. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.